Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing. He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
What's up, nation? It's Friday. EGIF. Good stuff. Welcome to the show. Last day of the week, and we got a big one planned. Got a lot of stuff that I'm going to talk about here. A lot of interesting, fun little stories. Some disastrous, of course. I'm going to go after corporate Democrats. We're going to go after corporate media. Shocking. But then again, we're going to have some fun. We've got Jesus, guns, and babies. That's great. We have, of course, some stories on Donald Trump, including how he is apparently a protected class. Did you know that? Fun. So, no, not just him, but Republicans in general are now a protected class. Great. So... Look, we've got that. We got so much more. Please like and share the stream. Very, very important. Very helpful that you do so. I want to thank a new member here, Steve F. Thank you for becoming a member by hitting the join button below. Really appreciate that on YouTube. And of course, Jedi Dragon Protector says, truth may go down with illegal activity. I'm guessing you're referencing Truth Social, which would be the most hilarious thing that I've ever seen. So it should be fun. Anyway, thank you for joining. I really, really appreciate that. By the way, going over here to Twitch, Flaccoesos, thank you for resubbing at tier 1 for 5 months. And also thank you for giving out gifting a tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that. And Ravaging Wolverine, thank you for resubbing with Prime for 16 months. Wow. My resub is for he, a totally real humanoid person. Yes, I sure love my humanoid people. My very totally real humanoid people. All right. Anyway, so without further ado, let's get to the show. And we'll start out with some fun. A Georgia Republican candidate for the gubernatorial race might have just come up with the worst slogan ever. And so now, look, it's a very simple message. Very simple, very, very easy to digest. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on who you talk to. QAnon folks, if you're watching. Her slogan, is this: Jesus, guns, babies. Is that her policy proposals? Jesus, guns, and babies. Now, I don't know if there's a specific order for the Jesus, guns, or babies. If it's placed in order, like Jesus first, then you get the guns, and then finally, last place, third place, you got the babies. But what does that even mean? Does it mean that what? Jesus is going to give the babies guns? Is that what's going on? Or what about the having babies with guns that are going after Jesus, or the reverse, Jesus going after the babies with a gun? I don't know. It makes no sense to me. Kidding aside, of course, this candidate is named Candace Taylor. And she's, as I said, running a pretty long shot candidacy in the Georgia gubernatorial primary. Because obviously. Now, apparently her credentials are that she is an educator with 2 decades of experience. An educator. Great. Fun. Now, that's not what she's going to be remembered for. What she is going to be remembered for is this really disastrous slogan and getting clowned over it on Twitter. In fact, I have some social media responses to this. One person, Eric Sprankle, says, only in the mind of a Christian nationalist is Jesus Guns baby and ideologically consistent. Yes, because, look, we care about the guns. We care about the babies so much that we're just going to let all the guns go into the classroom. Well, you know why the guns are in the classroom? It's because we don't have Jesus, obviously. Right. Sure. Guthrie Graves says, Jesus Guns Babies is in the running for worst campaign slogan ever. Another person says, I feel like there should be a Wordle type game for guessing the context of this. Another person, Seth Maskett, says, this would have been an amazing late 90s Nirvana album. Jesus, guns, and babies. Another person says, wow, the Candace Taylor GA Gov latest game of Marry, Fuck, Kill is going to be really tough choices for GOP fans. Oh, that's good. I love that. Another person adds, Jesus Gun Babies. Sounds like the name of an early 2000s Screamo band. There are a couple more. Jesus Guns Babies. Ah, yes, the evangelical Trinity. The holiest of holy trinities within the Republican Party. Another person points out that, hey, Georgia ranks 38th in the nation of child and family well-being, and the firearms is the first leading cause of death among children and teens in that state. And then said, I'm guessing that she's not going to make this better. That might be a pretty sure bet, but we don't know. We don't know. All we know is Jesus, guns, and babies. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And then finally, this is the best one. Oh, 2 more, actually. I did not see this coming from Republican Jesus, who apparently spreads the gospel by the bullet as he guns down babies. And then finally, Jesus, guns, babies, person, woman, man, camera, TV. Nobody gets it in order. It's very difficult. I mean, I got it, but it's a very difficult test. Person, woman, man, camera, TV, Jesus, guns, babies. Now, isn't it amazing that this is what Republican politics is? That's what this is. It's all about the culture war, and it's all about, I'm going to talk about Jesus, I'm going to talk about guns, and I'm going to talk about babies, or in the context, of course, of abortion, from the standpoint of abortion. But they're not going to talk about anything that actually helps your family from a words are hard today. From a socioeconomic standpoint. They're not going to help you and your family when it comes to economic security, when it comes to inflation, when it comes to raising wages, when it comes to actually making sure that you are protected when it comes to, workplace discrimination, being a part of a union, being able to organize for better wages and benefits. What about healthcare? Are we going to talk about that? No, not at all. No, we're going to talk about the culture war. That's it. Just more guns and just more religion. Now, how does anybody lose against these people on the Democratic side? Well, that's an interesting question, right? They lose because, guess what? The other side also doesn't fight. They don't fight for their own policies because both sides are captured by corporate rule. And so here we are, stuck in the middle with Jesus, guns, and babies. Sucks. All right. Do a quick update on Jenna Ryan. Notorious Capitol rioter Jenna Ryan is out of jail, having served her 60-day sentence after claiming that she wouldn't go to prison because she is too white and blonde and has a wonderful future. Ah, yes. Now, she's back out, and I'm going to shock you all by letting you know that she has learned absolutely nothing. Because, of course, the first thing that she did is went back onto Twitter to share MAGA conspiracy theories. In fact, she had retweeted Donald Trump Jr. and other MAGA accounts, shared a story from InfoWars, Alex Jones, about how the mind control police are going after the, truth tellers. They get a war. They get a war on thought crimes. Wait. Is the government going to war on thought crimes? Or is there a war on on the government for going after a thought crime? I have no idea. I have no idea what he's saying. Not at all. This is ridiculous conspiracy theory gobbledygook. But hey, apparently she seems to get it. She's like, oh yeah. Oh, I'm going to like that. I'm going to retweet that. Now, she's also retweeted support for the Canadian truckers and, of course, the false reports about the John Durham memo. Or I'm sorry, not memo, but the John Durham case. The conservative media has completely blown that out of proportion. The John Durham case, as reported on Fox News, you would think that, oh my God, we found evidence that Hillary Clinton went in and she personally hacked the servers of Donald Trump and tried to get all this compromising information. No, that's not what happened. John Durham himself has distanced himself from the reporting from Fox News and conservative media on this. But here she is retweeting that stuff. No, we've got the evidence. We got the evidence. You know what the evidence is, right? It's in Rudy Giuliani's bedroom. Yeah. So look, that's just to show you how it looks as though she hasn't really learned anything from her little stint in jail. Maybe she did some curls. Maybe, did a little exercise, but a little muscle. Or, just didn't. I don't know. All I know is that she is back to following the very same people who motivated her to beat the Capitol riot in the first place, which is the thing that got her in trouble. After, of course, bragging about how she was there and how that she would never get caught. So here she is, spreading the same kind of conspiracy theories, believing in that. And so that really presents a bigger problem. It's just an example of how people who were at the riot generally still believe in the cause that they were fighting for, which was based on just complete and utter nonsense conspiracy theories. So, great. Wonderful. Anybody surprised? No, of course not. And now she's got a nice little victimhood complex. Oh, I'm the girl that spent 60 days in jail. Great. All right. Just moving on. A new report exposes another one of Donald Trump's scams that he used to enrich himself. I know. Look, we're all shocked, right? But shocked and chagrined that Donald Trump would have another scam to enrich himself. But let me give you the details anyway. According to HuffPost, Trump's Political Action Committee had spent over $375,000 to rent office space in Trump Tower. So, look, we all know he rented office space in the tower. Guess who pockets that money? That's Donald Trump, obviously. Now, what's interesting about that, the details, they found that the Political Action Committee, despite renting office space, actually had no presence in that office space. They just didn't, all they did was just rent it and didn't use it. Here are the details. In 2021, Trump's Make America Great Again PAC spent $37,541.67 a month for 10 months, renting space in the Trump Organization buildings in Manhattan, according to HuffPost analysis of campaign finance filing. That was the same monthly amount his campaign had spent there from mid-2017 through the end of 2020, when his re-election campaign was actually based in Northern Virginia, across the Potomac River from Washington, HuffPost reported. One former aide tells the outlet, quote, "It's a huge scam. I cannot believe his base lets him get away with it." Well, I mean, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they let him get away with it? They let him get away with everything else. He basically do no wrong. Oh, unless of course he says something positive about vaccines. Then they get booed, or then they boo him. But anyway, as far as wasting donations on personal stuff, lying about where that money is going, and then allowing that money to go back into his own pockets, well, that's fine. They're still going to send him money. Totally fine. Now, HuffPost also reports that the ex-aide's assertion was confirmed by a Trump Tower employee who screens traffic to offices above the floors that are open to visitors. That former aide said, quote, "In all those months, there was at most one person who periodically visited the 7,000 square foot office in Trump Tower." When asked for permission to visit his office recently, the employee told HuffPost that Save America and its related entities did not have offices there. "It's all being run out of Florida," he said, declining to give his name. So now the question, of course, is why? Well, we already know the answer. Of course we know the answer. Trump insisted on having the campaign continue renting there as it had during the 2016 election because the building was having trouble finding tenants. Well, of course. Who wants to stay in Trump Tower? Especially after he inflated the prices for rentals in Trump Tower. He did that after his donors started footing the bill, at least. No, that money goes back into its pockets. That's what happens. And that's the point, right? That rent increase that I mentioned, that's a 5-fold rent increase. I mean, since the campaign, yes, is paying for it, but paying for it with donor money, well, of course he's going to overcharge his own campaign because he's not paying for it and gets all the benefits, gets all that money back into his pockets. And not only that, but the campaign itself rented unused space in Trump Tower. HuffPost noted that the $375,417 Trump spent for the unused office space is actually more than any of the money that they donated to Republican candidates. Now, there's actually a total of $350,500 that the Save America Committee donated to other Republican politicians. Now, here's the thing. They spent more on rent, which goes into Donald Trump's pockets, than on conservative politicians that were there to help obviously, win and keep Donald Trump and Republicans in the majority. And so that was the whole point, allegedly, of that committee. So, I mean, obviously, this is all a grift. Look, Republicans, like if you like Donald Trump, he's ripping you off. He's actually making it harder for you to win. Harder for a Republican majority. Because he's taking half of that money and then giving it to himself. Now, I'm not saying that's because, I want to help Republicans win. No, you're getting screwed over. He's taking the money and putting it into his pocket. Are you okay with that? Are you cool with him just taking it? I mean, look, I guess if you want to give him your money, I mean, a fool and their money are easily parted. But you think that, no, I donate to you because I want you to have to help give us a Republican majority, right? That's actually going to serve our interests. Not, I'm going to skim off the top and then just give myself more money in rent than I do to help get that majority. I don't know. We're not shocked, though. Nobody's shocked looking at this. We've known all along it's a gigantic grift. It's the same thing that it's always been. All right. A New York judge has ordered Donald Trump to testify in the civil investigation into the Trump Organization. Not just him, but of course 2 of his children as well. During a hearing with the Manhattan Supreme Court, Trump's attorney had attempted to argue, though, that he should not have to testify. Why? Well, because he's a member of a protected class. So I want to tell you the exchange here between attorney Alina Habba and the New York Supreme Court Justice Arthur Engoron. Habba stated, quote, "He's a protected class." What protected class is he a part of? Engoron asked. Quote, "His political speech, if he was not sitting as a Republican and was not a former president who might run again, this would not be happening. So she is discriminating against him for that." Wait, he's accused of, committing fraud. I mean, look, they're arguing, though, and this is fascinating. They're arguing that since he's a Republican, he should be a protected class. Because the right wing isn't represented enough in our government. Weird. And hilarious. Now, the judge also found it hilarious. He explained that the traditional protected classes are race, religion, etc. Donald Trump does not fit that model. He's not being discriminated against based on race, is he? Or religion, is he? He's not a protected class. Now, of course, they went on to argue, but it's political. This is a political investigation. And that's what it is, a political case. Letitia James just doesn't like me for some reason. Well, now, the judge responded, if Ms. James has a thing against him, okay, that's not, in my understanding, unlawful discrimination. He's just a bad guy. She should go after as the chief law enforcement officer of the state. And that's, of course, from her perspective. Well, yes, when you're an enforcement officer, yes, you're supposed to go after the bad guys. Literally her job. And so Donald Trump has been accused and has allegedly done some very shady, fraudulent financial stuff in order to try to help make money for himself or to avoid paying taxes. That's it. And so, yes, if there's some alleged crimes that he had committed, then yeah, literally her job to go and investigate those crimes. That's it. He's not a protected class. But here's the irony in this entire thing. They want to be a protected class. Donald Trump wants to be a protected class. And again, they already think that they are, and that we're just not recognizing it, which again is super ironic because they happen to usually be against protected classes. Allegedly. No, this is wanting a little bit of a crumb of oppression. They want to be oppressed. I mean, not in a real way, of course. They couldn't handle real oppression. But they want to claim it. I don't know, maybe it's a kink. I don't know. Press me harder, Big Daddy government, so I can complain. I don't know what it is. It's bizarre, though. It's super bizarre. But look, in reality, Donald Trump doesn't like people who are actually oppressed and supports the oppression. Trans people, black people, refugees from Central America, Muslim refugees. He opposed the Equality Act, which would have added sexual orientation and gender identity to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, of course, there are Republicans that come out and say we're actually not in favor of the Civil Rights Act at all. No, there's no racism, there's no discrimination except against white conservative Republicans, Christian conservative Republicans. That's where the real oppression is. That's the real oppressed minority in this country, except it's not actually a minority. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, that Civil Rights Act, by the way, would have banned housing, would have banned discrimination when it came to jobs, housing, credit, and for LGBTQ people at the federal level, and trans people. So look, those are the people who are actually discriminated against in this country. But disagreeing with somebody politically is not oppression. Disagreeing with Republicans or saying, hey man, you should probably stop saying hateful things against people. That's not oppression. No, what oppression is again, being able to discriminate against somebody, like firing them for no reason other than, of course, that they're gay or trans. Yes, that is actual oppression. You're keeping people from job opportunities as a result of being gay or trans or being black, for example. That's real oppression. And by the way, the people that are doing that kind of oppression, most likely right-wingers. And they're the ones who claim that they're the ones that are oppressed. Get out of here. Okay. All right, hold on here. Let's see. Oh, okay, hold on. Oh, so yeah, I'm looking at here. This is something that I talked about earlier, Florida, right? So now Florida did this thing where they passed a law that says that people could get other people fired if they were teaching critical race theory. Well, it just happened to somebody that I know, and that is, of course, Farron Cousins. Apparently, according to some of you in the chat, are saying that Farron's wife was fired because somebody had accused her of teaching critical race theory in class. That is ridiculous. That is incredibly dumb. That's horrible. And so that is like, again, I can't say it enough how fucked up this is. Absolutely fucked up. They live in Florida. Yeah, I know. They do live in Florida. And again, this is the consequence of these laws. Real people are being hurt and losing their jobs because some people are afraid that they're teaching not critical race theory. Critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 education. It's just not. And yet, what they label to be critical race theory is actually just American history that happened to do with, black people. And that's what's going on here. It just is absolutely disastrous to see this happening to good people that are trying to, do the best for their students, to teach them actual history. Absolutely disgusting. So, jeez. The right wing strikes again. Oh, some of you are saying that, okay, I may be misinformed then, because I just went and checked, she might get fired, but I haven't had any confirmation. I thought you guys were giving me the confirmation for that. But still, the fact that this could happen, that you could still lose your job as a result of this is ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. This is how they go after and try to by the way, yeah, that's how they try to silence people too. Teachers should be a protected class, says S185. Yeah. Okay. Is there also a national shortage of prospective teachers? That I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, we are friends, absolutely. Maybe I'll have to get him back on the show and just, maybe talk about this situation. But let's move forward. Okay. Axios recently put out an article titled "Squad Politics Backfire." In it, Mike Allen writes that the hard left politics of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the so-called squad, once a dominant theme for vast numbers of elected Democrats, is backfiring big time on the party in power. Top Democrats tell us. So now look, I'm going to get more into this article. Already complete and utter garbage. So let's talk about this. Now, hard left. Hard left? What is hard left? I mean, honestly, what they're fighting for are things that are into the mainstream of the Democratic Party. You go poll after poll, and with the policies that they support, and you have a lot of the majority of Democrats that support their policies. And policies, by the way, that the squad also supports and fights for. But here's what they focus on, right? He writes, the push to defund the police, rename schools, and tear down statues has created a significant obstacle to Democrats keeping control of the House, the Senate, and the party's overall image. No mention of any sort of the economic policies championed by people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and members of the squad. Just a culture war stuff. Nonsense. Nonsense. By the way, have you heard any other member of the squad, other than Cori Bush, really mention defund the police? No, they're not talking about that. And so no other member of the squad has really been pushing defund the police. And look, honestly, it's because it's not a very popular position among Democratic voters. And so, look, I disagree with that. I think we should defund the police. But honestly, the messaging, yes, is not great around it because people don't understand that. People see, and of course, there's constant scaremongering, news reports. Somebody stole, they stole steaks from Trader Joe's. It's an epidemic of crime. Look, there was I believe it was the NYPD that tweeted out a picture of them, bragging about, oh, we recovered $1,800 worth of stolen goods. You know what it was? All essentials, formula, baby diapers, what is it? Laundry detergent, like household essentials. They got so much backlash and they had to end up deleting that picture because everybody's like, well, wait a minute. Why are people resorting to stealing that stuff? Oh, right. It's because they can't afford it. Because wages haven't gone up. They're absolutely stagnant. Your money is actually worth less because now we have inflation. But oh, no. See, we're proud that we stopped the people from being able to feed their kids. And I know there are people that will come on and mention, but they're stealing. And besides, it might not even be the families. It's the resellers that will come in, they'll steal it, and then they'll sell it to poor people at a discount because it's stolen. Okay, well, when you create you have to look at why that there's a creation of this black market for baby diapers, right? And it's because normal people can't afford it anymore. That's the root of the problem. But no, we you know what? We have to fund the police more instead of social programs. And so here's the thing. I do agree with defund the police because it's not about just taking all the money out of the police. No, it's funding those programs to prevent crime so that you don't need as many police. And not only that, but preventing people from getting murdered by police officers, unarmed black people specifically, by allowing, social workers, people with mental illness also get shot and killed needlessly by police officers because they don't know how to handle it. Yeah. So that's why I'm in favor of defund the police. But again, I understand that it's terrible optics. I know that a lot of people don't understand what that actually means. They just think, oh, well, that means less police. No, it means more efficient police. Right now, the budgets of the NYPD are completely bloated, over-bloated. And they have all this equipment, these, weapons of war from the military. They don't need that stuff. They actually do need to work with less. If teachers can do it, you can do it. Police. Fund those social programs. But anyway, nonetheless, there's been nobody that's been running on this, that's been talking about this as of late. But no, this is a favorite talking point. The Jim Clyburns come back and, they're talking about this. They're talking too much about racism, and they're talking too much about defunding the police, so we just don't support that. Well, if you look at the polls, you're right. The black community doesn't support defunding the police. And again, that comes down to a messaging problem. And so that's why you don't have the squad talking about this. No, the push right now for members of the squad is mainly just trying to pass Joe Biden's agenda. That's it. Build Back Better. The child tax credit. The child tax credit lifted 40% of children out of poverty. But it's gone now. It's gone. You know who prevented that from happening? Not the squad. No, corporate Democrats, conservative Democrats. And so that's what happened. And by the way, when you look at who, Axios talked to for this piece, these top Democrats, you're not going to be surprised who they are. Josh Gottheimer, he's one of them. He is the co-chair of the Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus. Yes. He told Axios, quote, "What I'm hearing at home and what I'm focused on are common sense bipartisan solutions, from tackling grocery and gas prices to cutting taxes and fixing our infrastructure, to investing in new law enforcement and fighting crime." Are you, though, Representative Gottheimer? Are you really? What policies are coming out that are bipartisan? What policies are you putting forward to get stuff done? Now, here's who Representative Gottheimer is. He's one of the 9 House members who got together to try to block the Build Back Better plan in the House. The $3.5 trillion Build Back Better. Threatened to tank it. The entire bill. And by the way, that bill, the $3.5 trillion, guess what? It had policies in there that were incredibly popular with the Democratic base. That would have actually helped your family. Child tax credit, Medicare expansion for older people, dental, vision, hearing, would have had paid leave. But no, they didn't want that. And you know what? Earlier, even before Build Back Better, there's a chance for Democrats to be able to raise the wage to $15 an hour. Did that happen? No. Again, blocked by corporate Democrats. But somehow, it is the squad's fault for fighting for Biden's policies. The ones that he ran on. Oh, it gets worse. It gets much worse. In fact, the second person that they talked to is former Senator Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota. She says that her fellow Democrats have been hurting themselves by not speaking out more forcefully against liberal positions that she says alienate rural America. Oh, liberal positions. Democrats saying we gotta fight against liberal positions. She told the AP, quote, "Now the brand is so toxic that people who are Democrats, the ones left, aren't fighting for the party." Now let me tell you who Heidi Heitkamp is. She lost to a Republican. She's a corporate Democrat, very, very centrist, conservative, and she lost. And she lost not by going to the left. She lost after she went to the right. She went further conservative and did the exact same strategy that they're saying the squad should do and that Democrats should do if they want to win. And yet somehow she lost. Gee, weird. Very, very strange situation here. No, it's not strange at all. We keep saying this. Why would anybody want to vote for Republican light when you can vote for a Republican? They're going to get the same thing. They're going to go for the original. Oh, but there's even more. The article says that the signs have built steadily throughout President Biden's 13 months in office that squad politics are problematic when you control everything. Well, yes, it is problematic because when you control everything, guess what? The voters actually expect you to do things. That's why it's problematic, because it turns out they actually want to do things, but they don't have the power to do the things because here you have the rest of the party that consistently fights against them. But they got to have somebody to blame for them not fighting for anything. And look, here's what the Democrats have done so far. They passed COVID relief. Okay, wow, big deal. Donald Trump also passed COVID relief. And they passed a corporate handout bill for infrastructure. It's a bipartisan infrastructure bill. Well, guess what? That's a massive pork barrel spending bill. Yes, is infrastructure good? Do we need infrastructure? Yes, we do, of course. But the results of that, they're not going to be felt for years to come. It's going to be like 2027, 2028 before you actually start to benefit from the results of the corporate infrastructure bill. That's not going to help you in the midterms. And so, look, there's been no significant change in policy. In fact, look, Joe Biden, he has kept one of his campaign promises, the one that he made to his donors, that nothing will fundamentally change. But while that's happened, while nothing has changed for the workers for the better, you have had inflation that they're blaming, by the way, on you. They're blaming you for it. Oh, there's too much government spending. That's why the inflation is happening. You got too much. What about the billions of dollars that were given to corporations in corporate handouts? That all they did is went and bought back their own stock and increased shareholder value. That's what they did with the money. You didn't do it. You didn't cause that inflation. You got a $1,200 check and maybe some unemployment benefits. That's it. You didn't get all that much. And yet they're blaming you for it. No. Their whole midterm strategy appears to be telling voters, hey, look, we did too much for you. And now, the inflation that's happening, well, that's your fault. And it's because of the damn squad. If it weren't for the squad, if it weren't for progressives in office, you wouldn't have to deal with inflation. See, it's them, it's their fault. Vote for us. Vote for corporate Democrats. And one more thing. Here's what the article says. Republicans' decisive sweep of statewide offices in Virginia was powered in part by Democrats' failure to appreciate parents' skepticism about public schools, mask mandates, policies on transgender rights, and approach to teaching about race. You know what that's saying? Republicans were right. See, that's it. You're wrong, and the Republicans were right. They're right about everything. Well, then if your message as the Democratic Party is saying Republicans are right about everything, then why would anybody ever vote for a Democrat? What kind of message is that? No, this is ridiculous. You know what really happened? Democrats had no reason to turn out in Virginia. They didn't. Republicans did. Republicans turned out because they were motivated by the culture wars. Democratic voters happen to be motivated by policy positions. And if you're not fighting for policies, then why would anyone vote for you? Especially if you have control over the government. I know, they come up with every single excuse. Oh, it's a filibuster. Oh, it's a parliamentarian. Oh, we can't do that. Oh, if only, if only weren't the Republicans. But you're the ones that are blocking this. You're the ones. Joe Biden could today cancel a significant part of student loan, could cancel all of it if he wanted to unilaterally. He doesn't need anyone else to do it. He doesn't need Congress to do it. But he refuses to do it. Not on a mass scale. And by the way, some of you will point out, well, he canceled some student loan debt a little bit. And that's great. That's fine. What was it, like 50 something million or $60 million of student loan debt out of $1.8 trillion? I'm sure the number is a little bit higher than people that are, that were preyed on by for-profit colleges. I think DeVry is the latest one. But, okay, that's still an incredibly small slice of the amount that's owed in student loan debt. You could cancel it all. But he refuses to do that. And so without that, you're really not going to get anywhere. And now, that said, finally, the result here, and this is the whole plan of this article, and this isn't the only one. You have the Politicos and you have Axios, you have all these establishment media outlets that are doing the same thing, blaming progressives. They're going to go with the narrative that it's all the progressives' fault for not being good Democrats, for not working with the party. But wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense when you actually look at what they've been doing, that they've been fighting for Joe Biden's agenda much more than Joe Biden has. They've been fighting for the Biden agenda. Bernie Sanders has been fighting for the Biden agenda. They have put more progressive priorities on the back burner to fight for Joe Biden's agenda. Because in the hopes that, well, if we get that passed, then we could push for further. But no, that's not what they're doing, because they don't actually want these policies to happen. Corporate America already got their massive amounts of handouts. They got their corporate welfare. And now they don't want anything else. The donors own the party. And they are making sure the party gets nothing done that might actually impact their future profits or even hold them accountable for some of the stuff that they're doing. Now, as far as this piece of so-called journalism, no, this is a hatchet job. This is what a Democratic consultant came, to Axios and said, we want you to write this down. This is sad and pathetic. They're deflecting and attacking people who are actually trying to get progress and defending the very people who tried to block Joe Biden's agenda. Now, look, I'm blaming progressives. We all knew this was going to happen. You can go back months ago. I've made videos about this on Build Back Better, on these policies. You can even go back years about different policies. And you're going to get me saying, you're going to find me saying, when the Democrats inevitably fail because they didn't use their majority to get the things that the voters wanted, they're going to come back and do one thing. They're going to blame progressives for it. The far left, the hard left. I can't believe the hard left would do something like this. It's just not reality. But here we are, another corporate narrative being stirred against progressives. Okay. One last story for you guys. Recently, you may have noticed that Facebook and Instagram have been putting up fact checks on posts that would link inflation to corporate greed. So now they claim that, oh no, there's no context here. If you're blaming corporate greed on the inflation, well, that's just not true. The real cause of inflation is too much federal spending. We just got too much federal spending, too much money, that went to you in social programs, and that's the reason that you're paying so much. Now, I'm going to give you some examples here of these posts that were earning fact checks, so-called fact checks. One post on Instagram pointed out that ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, and BP have all recently reported their highest profits since the mid-2010s, while Americans were left with higher gas prices. The post said, I guess that's just inflation. So wait, you're saying inflation has nothing to do with these gigantic profit margins? Ridiculous. On Facebook, another post accusing Chipotle, Starbucks, and McDonald's, once again, three companies that have massive, massive profits and have given out massive executive bonuses, they raised their prices, right? That was given a fact check message and said, oh, you can't blame that on corporate greed, though, the inflation. You can't look at these situations with all these large companies that are massively profitable and yet still blame raising their prices on inflation, you can't blame that on corporate greed at all. Now, both of those fact checks are linked to an Agents Finance Press article. So now in it, I read it, it's farcical. It's hilariously bad. So let me give you some parts of that. So now this, again, blames price increases on big federal spending, heightened demand, and supply problems, not corporate greed. Experts rejected the idea that corporations are the main culprit. Who's your expert? A corporation? I mean, look, Mitt Romney said corporations are people, so very much likely that it's a giant corporation. I mean, they're people, my friend. Here's who AFP quotes in their fact check. Desmond Lockman, a senior fellow at the think tank, the right-wing think tank, the American Enterprise Institute. That's who did their fact check. Well, now, again, the American Enterprise Institute gets tons of money from trade groups, from corporations. And so, of course, he's going to come out and say, oh, no, it's not corporate greed at all. What are you talking about? He said this, after saying that it's far-fetched to think that it's just corporate greed. Quote, if they've got the power to push up prices, to gouge, well, why didn't they do it before the pandemic? Oh, okay. They did. Prices have been going up slowly before the pandemic on a lot of different things. Now, not as dramatically now as a result of the pandemic, and I'm going to get into that. But here, he says, quote, oh, you might find some instances where people are taking advantage of the situation to jack up prices, but that's not really what's driving inflation. Really? Now, here's the thing. As I said, pre-pandemic, prices had been going up. Wages have been generally pretty stagnant, but prices continue to rise. Rents continued to rise. We've all seen that's a problem. Tuition for school tends to rise and rose quite a bit pre-pandemic. Now, again, it wasn't as dramatic, but if you look at some of the charts, starting from like 1960, 1970, even more recent times, 1980, 1990, 2000, you'll see that there's been a definite rise in prices. However, inflation continues to go. However, wages continue to be stagnant. But now here's the thing. The pandemic comes. And for a while, you had companies that had to shut down. Now, a lot of these companies, they got a bunch of free money. They got billions of dollars in corporate handouts. A lot of which these companies that got them didn't actually need. Again, there's a legitimate need in certain small businesses that ended up getting pandemic relief. And I have no problem with that. But then you had a lot of big corporations that came in and just basically bogarted it. They'd come in and be like, ooh, free government money with no strings attached or very few strings. Yes. Yeah, we're going to go. Of course, we're going to grab it. Massive redistribution of wealth to the top. And that's what happened here. That's what happened here. Not to mention the trillions of dollars in quantitative easing from the Fed going right to the banks. The banks who still are refusing to lend to people in a lot of cases. So now, the end of the pandemic, and by the way, the other thing about gas, right? So you have OPEC Plus. It's not like Disney Plus, it's OPEC Plus. That decided that since they lost out on some profits during the pandemic, they were going to slow their production in order to raise the prices of gas. to make their money back. That's why you're paying more at the pump. It is corporate greed. And of course, it's a false scarcity. They intentionally limited the supply of fossil fuels, of gasoline, so that they could make more money. But again, it went up slowly, pandemic hits, and then you do get a legitimate supply chain crisis. Because yes, the pandemic did disrupt supply chains, and we are still having issues today. There's no doubt about that. And yes, there is demand that's up as well. But here's the thing. These companies said, well, we're going to take advantage of this. Yes, we're going to raise our prices to offset inflation. And then we're going to go even further. We're going to go much further so we can get as much profit as we can. Because now we have an excuse. Now we have an excuse. And now you also have corporate media, obviously, that now drums it into your head that, oh no, it's not because of corporate greed at all. No, there's just too much federal spending. It's too hot. Too hot. Meaning, of course, that they are blaming not the corporate welfare. They're blaming the aid given to you and your family. There's another one. The Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center's Benjamin Page said this, quote, the theory that firms suddenly became more greedy doesn't pass the smell test. Oh, really? They didn't suddenly become more greedy. They've always been greedy. They've always been greedy. Complete and utter bullshit. Yes, corporate greed plays a gigantic role in all of this. Again, I'm not discounting the fact that there is increased demand and there is limited supply. I get that. But CEOs have taken advantage of this to far offset or to far, gouge on more than they actually needed to offset their losses from actual supply chain issues, from inflation. Okay? In fact, we go to some of the calls that these CEOs have had with investors. Coach CEO Todd Kahn told the Wall Street Journal, quote, for Coach, the rise in prices isn't really about inflation. It's about reducing discounting. Oh, okay, so yeah, we're just reducing discounting. The CEO of Amatec, which makes instruments for medical and aerospace companies, said that their company is raising prices more this year, more than needed to make up for inflation, which of course would be corporate greed. Here's what CEO David Zapico said in a November earnings call. In the third quarter, our pricing increases continued to more than offset inflation. Great. We also have Mike Roman, CEO of 3M. So now 3M is a manufacturer of the N95 mask. So very necessary to have these masks, right? In places where there's high COVID infection rates, okay? High COVID spread, to try to reduce that. Now he said on a call, he praised his team for doing a marvelous job in driving price, meaning, of course, driving up the price. Those masks have gone up from 0.1% to 1.4% to 2.6%. That's the rate of inflation. Tyson saw their profits nearly double after price hikes of 32% on beef and 20% on chicken, in which the CEO attributed to the continued resilience of our multi-protein portfolio. Johnson & Johnson, Kimberly-Clark, again, very profitable companies that made billions of dollars during the pandemic. They raised their prices anyway. If you're raising your prices far beyond what you need to offset inflation, then that is corporate greed. That is price gouging. And we are seeing that. We are seeing that. This fact check is bullshit. Total bullshit. And yes, as some of you pointed out, the price of meat going up was happening before the pandemic. It was going up under Trump in 2020. So, yes, total garbage. But what do you expect from a massive corporation? These news companies, these news actors, they're all out there telling you that it's your fault. No, corporations they could never be greedy. What are you talking about? I don't understand why anybody would ever say that against our wonderful corporations. How dare you? You must be lying. And by the way, Facebook, another gigantic corporation, also says, hey, this is, look, we got this fact check from AFP, and, if you continue to lie in your in your articles, because our fact check says this, well, then we're going to have to limit your reach. We're going to have to make it so that people don't see what's actually going on here, and in a way to control the message. That's what's going on here. They're going to continue to defend places that raise their prices to price gouge you in an already incredibly difficult time. And they're not doing anything to help you. And by the way, while they're not doing anything to help you, they're also at the same time blaming you for the very problem that they are causing. And you have the corporate media and you have these big tech companies that are letting them get away with it. Disgusting. This is what it's like to live under corporate rule. Okay. Well, starting to leave off on a downer note, but you can't get any more downer or doomer than this today. So, yeesh. All right. Let's go here to some super chats before we go for the weekend. Jonathan Leiter says, did she lose weight as planned? Not entirely sure, honestly. He's a protected class, and I'm Maria of Romania. Yes, nice to meet you, Marie. No, just kidding. Thank you for the super chat, Jonathan. Gabby Mathis with a very kind $10. And another super chat for $5. Oh no, it can't happen to Farron Cousins' wife. I hope it doesn't. That would be just disastrous. And again, think of the chilling effect that it has on teachers all across the country. Dango Bango says, they know what defund means. They don't want it. True. I don't know about the Discord. I don't really feel like modding a Discord server. It's a lot of work. And, let's see. Ruling class, they know, is known to destroy capital. Is that what you're saying? Also, the true Queen of Canada is in jail. Ah, yes, of course. The true queen, the real Queen of Canada, the made-up land of snow and snow. Mahdi Darno says, life's pressure may weigh heavily on our hearts and minds, but we know we will triumph because we want food and housing, freedom and justice for all. Absolutely. Absolutely. Sewing Discord. Nice. Let's see. Well, hey, thank you for the offers of doing modding of the Discord. Again, this is something that I don't really have a lot of plans to do, and I don't even know how to set up, but I'll have to look into doing that. But it's not exactly high up on my priority list. But we do have a Reddit page, so yeah, I do have a Reddit group, and that's Waldorf Nation on Reddit. So you can check that out. I post videos there, and so you can go there and share those videos, all that stuff. So we'll do that. So far. Okay, which holiday is Monday? President's Day. That's what it is. Let's see. See if I can get room in the TYT Discord. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Let's see. No more stuff on Twitch here, but we are going to raid in. Let's do a raid into James from the internet. So do that. Will there be a show on Monday? Nobody usually takes off President's Day, do they? I don't know. I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be here. I gotta feed the algorithm, you know. So yeah, show on Monday. All right, everybody. Thank you all for growing around the nation with me today. Love you all, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We will see you all back here on Monday.
Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
Please clap.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
I like my knee tight. Tighten up my knee. They want to make you drink Starbucks every day from now until forever.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.